Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
It seems all too often I have to begin this broadcast talking about the most recent terror attack, and today is no exception, this time at a restaurant in Bangladesh. It says up to 9 gunmen entered, opened fire, and hurled makeshift bombs. Gunmen armed with pistols, swords, and bombs, according to a witness. A worker who escaped reported gunmen shouted Allahu Akbar as they opened fire. Now, I'm not one of those hate all Muslims, kill all Muslims, blame all Muslims people, but I do recognize the fact that this attack and the attack before that 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 all have the common theme of people said that they were doing it as the religion of peace. Once again, many nice Muslim people out there, but if I saw a crime wave or a series of crimes all perpetrated by Hindus or Christians for that matter, I would recognize the fact that they were doing that, and I wouldn't redact it from the official FBI transcripts of what actually happened. So I think it is relevant. Now, is it to say that all of them are doing it? Absolutely not, but it is relevant, as this is a motivating factor, and it's something that definitely needs to be looked at. And it says 9 gunmen so far. By the time you read this, it very well could have changed. More information may become available. They may have a more accurate body count, things of that nature, but that's what it is for the time being. Now let's talk about some other news, bring it back here to the United States of America. And what difference does it make? Well, it makes a lot of difference for the fact that the Attorney General of the United States was meeting with Bill Clinton. And under normal circumstances, maybe this wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it just happens that Bill's wife is under investigation by the feds, and nobody on the left really seems to think that this is a pertinent amount of information. And we have the report right here. The FBI ordered a press blackout. The former president steps into her plane, and then they speak for 30 minutes privately, an ABC 15 reporter said about the Phoenix meeting. The FBI, they're in the tarmac, instructing everybody around, no photos, no pictures, no cell phones. The FBI may have even violated 18 U.S. Code 242, which deprives rights under color of law, and it points to a conspiracy to subvert investigations targeting the Clintons, because it's not the FBI's job to block journalists or even private citizens from filming public officials who are meeting in an official capacity. Now, according to Mrs. Lynch, they weren't talking about anything official. Matter of fact, let's just go ahead and listen to what she said the meeting was actually about.
Was it appropriate for you to meet with former President Clinton while your agency is in the middle of an investigation of his wife's email servers?
Well, I did see the president at the Phoenix airport the other night. As I was landing, he was headed out. He did come over and say hello and speak to my husband and myself and talk about his grandchildren and his travels and things like that. So that was the extent of that. And no discussions were held on any cases or anything of that. And he didn't raise anything about that either.
So according to Mrs. Lynch, they were just talking about golf and grandkids and puppy dogs and hot air balloons and all that. But now we see Judicial Watch is demanding that the Inspector General probe into the scandalous Lynch-Clinton meeting. And even Barack Obama's former advisor, David Axelrod, admitted that the meeting created bad optics. And of course, Trump jumped on this and he said, it was really a sneak. It was something that they didn't want publicized, as I understand it. I think it's so terrible. I think it's so horrible. I think it's one of the big stories of the week, of this month, of this year. And when you consider how Mrs. Clinton is definitely under investigation, I think that is a pretty big deal for Mrs. Lynch to be meeting with Bill. If nothing else, I think it's a conflict of interest. Is it criminal? I guess time will tell, but for right now, I think it is definitely a conflict of interest. And she has come out on record, Mrs. Lynch, saying that she would not do this again. And I was like, if you're going to do it the first time, you might as well just let the reporters in so they can see that you talk about golf and grandkids and all that kind of stuff. But this wouldn't be the first time the Clintons were up to something that, in my opinion, just wasn't no good. If you guys recall, it was earlier this year, and I guess going into last year as well, where Bill was out there campaigning at polling places. Now, for people who don't know this, like if you think about if you go to a grocery store or something where the polls are open, you notice the guys in the back of the parking lot with their signs for their candidates or their flags or whatever saying, hey, vote for, candidate X. And the reason they're in the back of the parking lot because they know you can't be in 150 feet of the polling place influencing public opinion. not only was Bill Clinton within 150 feet, he was actually in the freaking polling place, but nobody wants to take that too serious. And it says, former President Clinton, he appeared at the rallies for support of his wife, and the Secretary of State, William F. Galvin, told the New York Times that he had to remind the election workers that even a president can't go inside and work a polling place. That is correct, Mr. Bill Clinton. You cannot be in there influencing the crowd, swaying it one way for your wife, taking pictures, as some of the reports say that he was doing. He's like, I'm out here talking. I can't do the Bill Clinton voice, but you know how he sounds like. He's out there influencing public opinion for his wife. Can't do that. If you want to do that, you have to go stand in the back of the parking lot with everybody else. And once again, as we talk about the Clintons and the Clinton machine and all the things that they have going on, you guys know so much about Benghazi. We talked about it here extensively, but I want to talk about the Benghazi victims, the wives, the children, the people who have to suffer the fact that their husbands, their fathers, their brothers are not coming home. And we've seen multiple reports of people being assured by Mrs. Clinton, by their telling of the story, that, she had worked the thing out, she'd get to the bottom of it. And later she came out and just said they were liars, they're blowing things out of proportion. And we have one of these people right here, Benghazi widow. Clinton has no right to tell me to move on.
I think that nobody in government can tell me how I feel, what I should feel about it. She has no right, nor does anyone in government have the right to tell me it's time to move on. They're not in my shoes. I think that, that's the essence of what they have done, is they've been dismissive.
We celebrate the 4th of July as a reminder of earning our independence from a tyrannical and oppressive government. Just a reminder to the Obama administration, there's plenty of room on the calendar for another holiday.
FEMA is talking about food prices going up 395% potentially. We got the Pentagon report predicting a meltdown coming around 2017. We've got Kissinger talking about a food as a weapon and using it. We've got Soros talking about EU collapse. Trump talking about bubbles. Ron Paul. Most of the grain in many countries being turned into ethanol for cars when we got plenty of oil. Venezuela food prices are up to $150 for 1 dozen eggs. Brazil is in financial crisis. The UN's announcing that it basically runs our southern border. This is insane. All of these policies being set by the globalists. Governments and elites are stockpiling food and weapons and building bunkers. I know I personally am getting prepared. The warning signs are insane, and that's why we're offering some of the biggest specials ever at InfoWarsStore.com right through the July 4th special weekend of 20 to 40% off. The biggest wide spectrum sale ever on preparedness items, 20 to 40% at InfoWarsStore.com.